Mr. Trump peasy.
The level of destruction is beyond anything you can even imagine.
Donald Trump has warned monster nuclear weapons could end the world, as he sounded
Gotta love Trump, man. Like, it's people, and it's funny. The presidents that we get now, like, they don't even have to be like talk. Like, um, I mean, all our presidents can't talk. And it's funny talking to different people, and all they do is talk about how they're different. The different candidates can't even talk, and that at this point, all you are served is candidates who can't talk. Like Kamala's an able-bodied woman, and she can't fucking talk. You know, how much what they rigging debates for her, rigging interviews and shit. People talk, oh, she know how to talk. What you're seeing is highly edited. And things that are highly swayed to her narrative. Trump can talk, but I mean, he sounds like a child, and very, childlike vocabulary. You know, um, and look at Biden. You know, Biden is disabled. He's dementia. Literally, people talking about, oh, Biden sound like he's smart, but they sound smarter than Trump. It's like, where have you been? But it's like, after 2020 and the devolk hit, when the narrative stopped feeding the people the narrative that they wanted to read, they turned it off, and they kind of just went their own way, So it goes to show you why Tucker Carlson, maybe I messed that up, is the most popular media figure after, I mean, just he's the most popular media figure even to the Democrats, man. You don't really have anyone to hang on to as a Democrat. No figureheads.
the alarm over atomic Armageddon.
Everybody has to spend all this money on something that if it's used, it's probably the end of the world.
The president issued the stark warning in a TV interview on Sunday morning after he floated new arms controls with Russia and China. In an interview with Fox News, Trump said he believes nukes are one of the greatest threats to mankind. The US has the second largest nuclear weapons stockpile in the world, with around 5,000 weapons. Russia has the most, with nearly 6,000, with China a distant third, with around 350. Nuclear weapons have only been used in anger twice, when the US bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki to end World War II. The 78-year-old went
over 2,000 nuclear tests. For what? For what end? Why does America have nukes? It preaches we're all the human race. We're all one people. So why do you need nukes? Why do you need such a doomsday plan? Why can't you just create more advanced? I mean, they already got many advanced dangerous weapons. But they've really given you a doctrine to accept. The beast being reborn. The Roman Empire being fully reborn as the fourth industrial revolution. And for you to put away that for you to accept the plantation Christianity, for Israelites to reject the true gospel, and to let everyone forgive their own wealth to trade for worthless currency in exchange for their identity and building their own nation, in their own communities.
to say that too many people are focused on claims of climate change, rather than tackling the global threat posed by nukes. The president said the threat of nuclear weapons is immediate, warning, it could happen tomorrow. Trump explained, I watched Biden for years say the existential threat is from the climate. I said no. The greatest is sitting on shelves in various countries called nuclear weapons that are big monsters that can blow your heads off for miles and miles and miles. Russia has repeatedly rattled the nuclear saber in the war in Ukraine, and Putin has long threatened the world with his ambitious super weapons, such as the Satan II nuke. Trump has long vowed to be the president of peace and said he wants to end wars worldwide, especially the raging conflict in Ukraine.
On Russia, if I may, President Putin is bombing Ukraine.
Yeah.
Do you still believe him when he tells you that he wants peace?
Yeah, no, I believe him. I believe him. I think
Isaiah 44:16, behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, that bring forth the instrument of his work, and I have created the waster to destroy.
we're doing very well with Russia. But right now they're bombing the hell out of Ukraine, and I'm finding it more difficult, frankly, to deal with Ukraine. And they don't have the cards. They don't have the cards. As you know, we're meeting in Saudi Arabia on sometime next week early, and we're talking. I find that in terms of getting a final settlement, it may be easier dealing with Russia, which is surprising because they have all the cards. I mean, and they're bombing the hell out of them right now. And I put a statement in, a very strong statement. Can't do that. You can't do that. They asked him, "What do you think about? What do you think about?"
You know, that's why I told you all that shit is theater, like their argument. He's still pushing narratives, but he doesn't want to speak on the Russian shelling. I mean the Ukrainian shelling of ethnic Russians. They don't want to talk about, you know, cutting off water to the Russians. They don't want to talk about their genocide. They don't want to talk about their war crimes. You know, and if he was truly a leader that you fool of Americans look up to, or you truly are uneducated, or you're ignorant, because all this truthers, it just push you more American, push you more towards the beast.
Iran, would you hit Iran? And he goes, as long as they don't hit the nuclear stuff. That's the thing you want to hit, right? I said, I think he's got that one wrong. Isn't that what you're supposed to hit? I mean, it's the biggest risk we have. Nuclear weapons, the power of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. You know, I rebuilt the entire military.
And how do you know that he wants to make peace? You know, Revelation 13:3. As I saw, was one of his heads that were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and the world wondered after the beast. Man, all these people worship America. They recognize this evil. I mean, it's kind of like us in this truth. I mean, you know, we try to pursue in the world. Pursue in the world of Israel, obviously. You know, in the word, in the world pulls us in the same sense. These people love America. I mean, we don't love America, but these people love America. These people would love to partake in the beast, but you know, Esau, he only going to deal with them at the top. But at this NWO, it's proposed that they'll be equal. You know, all these people, Kim Jong Un, love American media, all type of American products or things that are highly esteemed in American culture. You know, Osama, a bunch of movies. These niggas would love to partake in the beast.
Jets, everything. I built it, including nuclear, and I hated to build the nuclear, but I got to know firsthand the power of that stuff. And I'll tell you what, we have to be totally prepared. We have to be absolutely prepared. But when they asked him that question, the answer should have been hit the nuclear first and worry about the rest later.
You know, and if you had a real president that actually had America in the forefront, that should be the response. You know, but you know, you have intentional. I mean, it's very intentional, not by mistake. A mismanagement leading America to be a sacrifice for the NWO.
We're talking about denuclearing, and President Putin and I agreed that we were going to do it in a very big way. There's no reason for us to be building brand new nuclear weapons. We already have so many. You could destroy the world 50 times over, 100 times over. And here we are building new nuclear weapons, and they're building nuclear weapons, and China's building new nuclear weapons, and China's trying to catch up because, you know, they're very substantially behind, but within 5 or 6 years they'll be even. And we're all spending a lot of money.
You know, what a beautiful book. You know, heavy destruction of Esau and prophecies of us getting the word back. Malachi 1:1. The burden of the word of the Lord of the Lord Yahweh to Yasharallah, but by Malachi. I have loved you, saith the Lord Yahweh, yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith the Lord Yahweh, yet I love Jacob, and I hated Esau, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Whereas Adawam saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh of armies. But they shall build, but I will throw down. They shall call them the borders of wickedness, and the people who the Lord Yahweh have in the nation against forever. And your eyes shall see, and ye shall see the Lord Yahweh will be magnified from the borders of Israel. The nukes will magnify the name of the Lord, across the world.
We could be spending on other things that are actually, hopefully, much more productive. Hopefully, there'll never be a time when we need those weapons. If there's ever a time when we need nuclear weapons, like the kind of weapons that we're building and that Russia has and that China has to a lesser extent, but will have, that's going to be a very sad day. That's going to be probably oblivion.
I find it ironic that he's raising nuclear weapons. This is a person who has been very cavalier, even casual, about the use of nuclear weapons. He's advocated more countries getting them, Japan, Korea, even Saudi Arabia. He said, well, if we have them, why don't we use them, which I think is terrifying. But here's the deal. The bottom line on nuclear weapons is that when the president gives the order, it must be followed. There's about 4 minutes between the order being given and the people responsible for launching nuclear weapons to do so. And that's why 10 people who have had that awesome responsibility have come out and in an unprecedented way said they would not trust Donald Trump with the nuclear.
As Jeremiah 51, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, I will raise up against Babylon and against all them that dwell in the midst of them that raise up against me a destroying wind. They shall send unto Babylon fanners, and the fan that shall fan her, and shall empty her land. For in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about. Against him that bendeth let the archer bend his bow. Against him, how an archer going to destroy Babylon and fanner? So it's like he shoots a bow and arrow, and you're gonna have a little fan. Someone gonna be waving a fan to him. No. Against him that lifted himself up on his bridge Gadin, and spare ye not her young men, and destroy her utterly all her host. So how's a bow and arrow being propelled by a fan gonna destroy all armies and all the young men? It's obviously talking about a nuclear missile. So against his coat of armor. So what's that mean? So he lifted, bendeth, against him that bendeth. See, 2 nukes have already been used by America. So, and they 2,000 have been tested, and majority being America. And the 2 highest countries that tested the most is America and Russia through the Spirit. Let the archer bend his bow against him that lifted himself up with his armor. Basically, what that mean, And see, and Trump said, "Oh, he wants an Iron Dome for America." Like that's possible. But it would have to be done the way the likelihood of the threat of America is guaranteed of nuclear destruction. Thus the slain shall fall in the land of Chaldeans, and they that are thus thrust through in her streets. For Israel hath not been forsaken, nor Judah of his God. So this is how all of Israel will be brought back in the fold, not through in the same wilderness, in the same sense that under Moses, but destruction. Forsaken of his God, nor the Lord Yahweh of armies throughout the land was filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel. Flee out the midst of Babylon, and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of the Lord's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, that made all the earth drunken, and the nations have been drunken with her wine. Therefore the nations are mad. You know? and Trump's gonna talk about the Iranian regime. But and he'll call it. That's why I mean we didn't need this video playing right now. But it's always good to see Trump call out Hillary Clinton, and Trump is the best presidential candidate ever. And and you cannot run better campaigns than him, because who can? He was set up to run this. She chose this for him to say this and be like this. Yeah. She you call him out on on certain terrorist groups or whatever. But is he gonna keep talking about the whole history of the, that Iranian regime being overthrown? A pro uh let's just say women have a lot more rights than they did now. They probably have more rights, than they did in America at that time. Equal rights, whatever that means. But another regime called by America, because America is the source of poverty, is the source of pain, is the source of terrorism, is the source of genocide.
Codes, or to have his finger on the nuclear button.
I have 200 generals and admirals, 21 endorsing me, 21 Congressional Medal of Honor recipients. As far as Japan and other
So
countries, we are being ripped off by everybody in the world. We're defending other countries. We are spending a fortune doing it. They have the bargain of the century. All I said is we have to renegotiate these agreements because our country cannot afford to defend Saudi Arabia, Japan, Germany, South Korea, and many other places. We cannot continue to afford. She took
flee the Holy One in Israel. Flee out of the midst of Babylon spiritually, and deliver every man his soul be not cut off in her iniquity. For this is the time of the Lord's vengeance. He will render unto her recompense. Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, that made all the earth drunken. All the nations have been drunken of her wine. Therefore the nations are mad. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain, so she should be healed. As you would put ointment to heal, but it can't be. We would have healed Babylon, but she cannot be healed. Forsake her. Let everyone go unto his own country, for her judgment have reacheth unto heaven, and it's lifted up even to the skies. The Lord hath brought forth our righteousness. Come, and let us declare in Zion the work of the Lord, our power. He make the bright arrows, gather the shield and make the bright arrows. Nukes, gather the shields. The Lord hath raised up the spirit of the Medes. Put that spirit of the ancient Medes on the Russians, and for his device is against Babylon, and to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of the Lord, the vengeance of his temple. Set up the standard upon thy walls of Babylon. Make a strong watch. Set up the watchmen. Prepare for the ambush. The Lord hath both devised and done that which he has spake against the inhabitants of Babylon.
That is saying nuclear weapons. Look, she's been proven to be a liar on so many different ways. This is just another lie.
Well, I'm just quoting you when
there's no quote. You're not going to find a quote from me.
Nuclear competition in Asia. You said, go.
Jeremiah 51:20. Thou art my battle axe. Thou art my battle axe, my weapons of war. For with thee I will break in pieces the nations, and with them I will destroy kingdoms. This is really talking about the Israelites, but that's what Israelites. The only people who are truly destroying Babylon is the Israelites, because they are preaching the gospel and allowing the Lord. Let me say. Obviously, the Lord, has ordained all this and controls, every prophet. But when men preach the word, it destroys the foundation. The Lord destroys Babylon even more.
Go ahead, enjoy yourselves, folks. That kind
and defend
of language,
yourselves. And defend yourselves. I didn't say nuclear. And defend yourself.
The United States has kept the peace through our alliances. Donald wants to tear up our alliances. I think it.
Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, destroying government, saith the Lord Yahweh, which destroyeth all the earth, and I will stretch out my hand upon thee, rolling down from the rocks, and will make thee a burnt mountain through the nukes. They shall not take one stone for a corner, nor a stone for foundation, but it shall be desolate forever, saith the Lord. No one's going to live here, no one's going to build up here, there's nothing going to be recognizable. Oh, I can start a foundation. First, that's no. But set ye up for a standard in the land, blow the trumpet, for all the nations shall be prepared. Prepare the nations against her. Call together all the kingdoms of Ararat, many Meshes, and appoint unto them captains against her. Cause the horse to come up as a rough caterpillar. Prepare against her nations, the king of the Medes, the Russians, the captains, therefore, and all the rulers thereof, and all dominion of his land. Well, every Russian soldier is going to be wholeheartedly with the plan to come to destroy Babylon. The land shall tremble and sorrow, for every purpose of the Lord shall be performed against Babylon, to make the land of Babylon desolate without inhabitants. Mighty men of Babylon are going to fight. These men are weak. You know, we already got all these people talking about how they're going to dodge drafts and whatever. There's no morale for the U.S. military. You know, all they got to do is white nationalism and life benefits. They have remained in their holds. They might have failed. They have become as women. They shall burn her in her dwelling places. Their bars are broken. One post shall run to meet another, and the other messenger shall meet. So
Makes the world safer, and frankly, it makes the United States safer. I would work with our allies in Asia, in Europe, in the Middle East, and elsewhere. That's the only way we're going to be able to keep peace.
We are going to move on to the.
Let me go back to what happened in the Oval Office the other day. I call it a smackdown of Zelensky. It looked really rough, but then again, at the end of the day, you may have your deal back. So is that all the art of the deal? What specifically ticked you off?
If I were president, that would have never happened. You wouldn't have had stopped it. The biggest economic job they've ever had, I stopped it. Biden got in. On the second day, he approved it. He said, let it go forward. It was totally stopped. Just that one thing alone tells you everything. No, I was stopped. At the same
he stopped it. Biden approved it, and then he attacked it. It shows you nothing really changed to our politics, man. Habakkuk 2:2. The Lord has answered me and said, write the vision, make a plain upon tables. He may run that readeth it. Are they saying, this could happen in the next 100, 1,000, 50? No. He's saying the war could end tomorrow. I mean, it's not literally going to end tomorrow, but that's the spirit that the prophets should be coming in. You know? Even prophets are here. Getting popped in their backside. It's a sin to not to agree with me. Huh? The Bible never says, it doesn't say, you can't lie. Telling you, we could be here for 1,000 years. The vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Wait, though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come and will not tarry. Because why? Why? Because the dude's soul, behold, his soul is lifted up. His soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by faith. We could be 1,000 years. Tomorrow to 1,000. You know, it looked good for us, but I ain't a doomsday prophet. Yea, also, because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desires hell, and is as death, and death cannot be satisfied. He gathereth upon him all nations, and heapeth against him all people. You know?
time,
Shall not all these take up a parable against him, a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe unto him that increases that which is not his? How long? To him that laid himself with the clay, they shall not rise up. That suddenly, shall they not rise up? And that shall bite thee, and awake, and that vex thee, and thou shalt also take booty unto them, because thou hast spoiled many nations. All the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because the men's blood and the violence of the city dwell therein. Woe unto him that covet evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. You know, this,
I got along with Putin. I got along with Kim Jong-un. I got along with President Xi. But nobody was tougher, like on China, than I was.
And then there are reports now that Russia says it will help the United States negotiate a nuclear deal with Iran. What kind of a deal with Iran do you want to do? You said they cannot have a nuclear weapon.
Yeah. Well, there are two ways Iran can be handled, militarily or you make a deal. I would prefer to make a deal because I'm not looking to hurt Iran. They're great people. I know so many Iranians from this country.
Well, not the leadership.
No, not the leadership.
The
No,
people.
they're very evil people. No, but the people of Iran are great people. But they had a tough regime, and they'd meet and they'd be shot in the streets. I mean, it was a tough deal. But I would rather negotiate a deal. I'm not sure that everybody agrees with me, but we can make a deal that would be just as good as if you won militarily. But the time is happening now. The time is coming up. Something's going to happen one way or the other. I hope that Iran, and I've written them a letter saying, I hope you're going to negotiate, because if we have to go in militarily, it's going to be a terrible thing for them.
You wrote a letter to the Khomeini?
Yes.
When did you send the letter?
Yesterday.
And you said you better negotiate, or we want you to
I didn't
negotiate?
say you better. I said,
Okay.
I hope you're going to negotiate, because it's going to be a lot better for Iran. And I think they want to get that letter. The other alternative is we have to do something.
Ezekiel 38:2, the Son of Man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief of Meshach and Tubal, man. You know, Magog being the Russians. Thus saith the Lord, behold, I am against thee, Gog, the chief of Meshach and Tubal. I will turn thee back and put hooks in thy jaws, like to control an animal, but will bring forth all thine armies, horses and horsemen, all thine clothes with swords of armor, even a great company in bucklers and shields. You know, Persia, Ethiopia, you know, that's Iran. You know, Ethiopia, Libya, and that's Elam. So you know, Persia, Iran, India, and all them with shields and helmets. Gomar and all his bands, Togomar, and all the north quarters of his bands, and many people with thee. Be thou prepared and prepare thyself, thou and thy company that are assembled unto them, to be a guard unto them. Many days thou shalt be visited, and in the latter years thou shalt come to a land that is brought back from the sword, and gathereth up many people against the mount of Israel, which has been always waste, but thou hast brought forth the nations, and they shall dwell safely, all of them.
Because you can't let them have a nuclear weapon.
You said you wanted to do the Golden Dome. You've got a lot of ideas for America. But then earlier you said you wanted to cut $1 trillion in defense spending, right?
I didn't say I was.
You did not. So I was like, which is it? Are you cutting defense spending, or are you building this up?
I never said defense spending.
Okay, because I think you were talking about denuclearization,
Correct.
and that's where the cutting of the spending came in.
I never said cut. No, it's not in these days. I'd love to cut defense spending, but not now, because you have China, you have Russia, you have a lot of problems out there. No.
In fact,
no, what I have said is, we spend a lot of money on nuclear missiles, nuclear weapons. The level of destruction is beyond anything you can even imagine. It's just bad that everybody has to spend all this money on something that, if it's used, it's probably the end of the world.
Wow. I don't know what to say to that.
You know, when I listen to these climate lunatics, and they talk about global warming, and they say the ocean's going to rise 1/8 of an inch in the next 300 years, and you know, and nobody ever talks about nuclear weapons or some of the other things, but the nuclear weapons in particular right now, and they talk about the climate, and they talk about the dangers of the climate, but they don't talk about the dangers of a nuclear weapon, which could happen tomorrow. They say in 300 years, I watched Biden for years say the existential threat. He loved the term existential threat. Our greatest existential threat is...
You know, you're saying the real stuff. You're worried about this climate change. You're worried about all this. They're gonna hit you with credit, you know, climate credit scores when they're real. It's a real world ender. You know, which you know, everyone alive will see in their lifetime. Is America being struck by nukes? Whew, that should go and burn. Barak the Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shine, Ba'ashem Rakadash. I hope this lesson was edifying. I'm on.